Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gypsy Poet Radio here on blogtalkradio.com/Gypsy Poet. I am the Gypsy Poet, and with me is the ever-mysterious, sparkling, and funny, and witty, and ever-so-wonderful Girl George. Yes, people, Girl George. Say it with me, Girl George, Girl George, Girl George, Girl George. And what a show we got. Oh, I'm excited about this one because we have Peter Dunne, a.k.a. Peter Bilt of Pearl Harbor and the Explosions. What an awesome program, and we get to talk about music, and this is what it's all about. Is everybody with me?
Hello, Peter.
Hi, Girl George.
You were on my TV show back, what, in 1978, 79?
Several times, indeed.
Yeah. With Pearl Harbor and the Explosions. Now, that's one of my biggest hits on YouTube. I've got those up there. That Driving, it's gotten like 35,000 hits on it.
Oh, my word.
Just that one song, and I have 3 of the songs up there. So people like you. Too bad you guys broke up. You guys were amazing.
Well, I think there was a great lost opportunity that happened right there. And it's really hard to say why that occurred, but you know what they say, there's an old saying that every band worth its salt is at all times on the verge of breaking up.
And some of the best ones just explode into a bunch of colors like a shooting star.
Yeah, well, we were no exception to that.
You got signed to Warner Brothers, right? You had an album out, went on tour.
Oh yeah, there was a bidding war for us actually. We did a deal with Howie Klein on 415 Records for a one-off single. And Howie,
what was that, Driving?
Yeah, it was Driving. It was Driving and Release It actually. And Howie, as brilliant as he was just a fabulous promoter. And eventually ended up running Warner Brothers A&R. Oh, he ran Warner Brothers, period. As a result of the success of that single, there was a bidding war, and we decided to go with Warner's because they're obviously very artist friendly, and I think they may still be. But at the time, they were perhaps the most artist friendly label, apart from the indies. Stiff Records made us an offer too, which was also very appealing because it was a real happening label, but they didn't have any money. So we kind of split the difference between the really big money that we were offered and Stiff's offer and went with Warner's. So, yeah, they supported us. We were what was known in the day as a supported act, which means they provided tour support, which means that every time you land at the airport, their artist relations people show up and meet you and take you around to all of these events that they've set up for you, like in stores and on radio and what have you. We didn't really see the van ever. We pretty much went from playing locally to flying every gig over 200 miles and really being catered to seriously by the label. And every time we hit a big town like New York or a big music town like New York or Nashville or what have you, they'd set us up to do, radio interviews and what have you all around the world. So, as I said, it was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
So what happened?
Well, as I said, every band that really has a good creative spark and does have, different elements that are not necessarily all on the same page, the proposition of making something interesting out of that, I think, is much greater than, say, if you have one leader with 4 people who kind of stand around and play in the background. The good part is you get a much bigger kind of creative output, but the downside is there's much more friction that happens, and so that we we always had problems right from the beginning, but there was obviously such an upside that we were able to typically resolve them. And at the end, well, what happened was we toured the United States with Talking Heads at the end of '79 we did the whole U.S. with them while we were making our record, and we'd fly back and that sort of thing. And then we came home for about a week, and then went out on a 4-month winter tour of the U.S. And I think that part of it was our record didn't really take off the way we thought it would. And part of the reason for that is that our record was released on the same day that the Pretenders' first record was released.
Oh, great.
By the
Chrissy's
same label.
A friend of mine from a long time ago, Chrissy Hine.
Yep.
And that one really took off.
Yeah, and it was on the same label because they had already had 3 singles in the UK, so they had a huge momentum. They had a lot of name recognition, and they were basically a female singer with a 3-piece, plying sort of new wave, had punk connections, rock bands. So, what happens at labels is the sales forces and the promotional machinery gets divided up according to what's being released on any given schedule. And it's almost hard to overestimate how important that is. I've had producers that major labels show me the schedule and say, "Look, my record is coming out now, and there's nothing competing for the label's resources." Meaning it's going to get airplay probably. There's going to be money to promote it. There's this, that, and the other. Well, this completely divided the attentions of Warner's, although I can't say enough about how good they were to us. They were brilliant. But, for example, there was a billboard on Sunset Strip that had the Pretenders on one half and us on the other half. And automatically, the attention is getting divided of the public at that point. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we went out on the road and did almost exactly the same tour that they did at the same time in reverse. We went from the West Coast to the East. They went from the East Coast to the West. They opened for the Boomtown Rats at the Warfield in San Francisco. We opened for the Boomtown Rats.
I was at that concert that she played in San Francisco's Boomtown Rats.
Yeah, well, we did it with the Boomtown Rats at the Palladium in New York. And, we were basically crossing in opposite directions, doing the exact same thing. So, they had a single with Stop Your Sobbing, which is a Kinks cover. Then they had Kid came out with a single, which was a lovely record. And then by the time they hit America, they had a third single out, which was Brass in Pocket.
Well, that was a big hit.
That became a huge hit, yeah. That crossed over completely. But we had Drivin', and that was about it.
Well, that was amazing. And that Shut Up and Dance is a great song.
we had some winners, I will say. And we had
Pearl jumped up and down where Chrissy Hine never jumped up and down. Boy,
Pearl,
she really moved around. And the rest of you guys too.
I know. Pearl is as good a front person as I've ever seen, really. And
she outdoes Mick Jagger. She outdoes Mick Jagger.
Yeah, there's a line that I've used before, and that is I've only seen 3 people in the world ever really do a great sideways pony, and that's Tina Turner, Mick Jagger, and Pearlie Gates.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. The first time I seen Pearl, she was playing with Leela and the Snakes at the Mabuhay, and I was trying to book Leela and the Snakes, and then they broke up, and then so I booked Pearl Harbor and Explosions. But you guys were all in Leela and the Snakes, weren't you?
I was not.
You weren't?
No, I wasn't.
Were some of the other guys in there?
Yeah, John and Hillary were.
Oh.
It was, It was funny because, John and I were in L.A. Well before he got in Lilo and the Snake. Is
that your brother?
Shop.
Are you guys brothers?
No, John and Hillary were brothers. Our brothers.
I knew there were two of them that were brothers. They called themselves the Stench Brothers. So that was the other two.
Yeah. Yeah, they were in Lilo and the Snakes. So we saw Lilo and the Snakes, though. John and I did before he joined them. She's very, very tall, brilliant, talented. Gosh, oh my word, she was skillful music. She was funny, relevant. I fell in love with her first. When I saw her, I thought, wow.
Well, that's what I first wanted to book was that act, and then they broke up, and then Pearl Harbor was doing it, and I thought, wow, this is great. So I booked her instead because, they'd left.
Yeah.
So Door Knocker got killed in a helicopter crash, right?
Yes, she did. She was doing, I believe it was Traffic.
Yeah, the Traffic
City.
for a radio show.
Yeah, New York City, I believe it was.
And she went down right on the air. Oh my goodness!
Did she really?
Yes, it's on YouTube.
I forget
you
the
can hear her going down.
In my word, yeah, that's tragic. Many like Bill Graham and
Bill Graham went the same way on a helicopter. They hit those wires, those electric wires, and that's the end of that. You also played with Romeo Void, the girl from that, didn't you?
Well, yeah.
I've seen pictures of you and her.
Oh, yeah. Deborah and I have an ongoing collaboration, really. And, in fact, I produced her last record, her last full-length record. It's called Stay Strong, Deborah Isle. And,
great voice.
Well, she's a major. She's a fabulous talent. I love her too. I love her. I think it always surprises me that of all at least of the people from my particular era, Deborah and Pearl were the two. To me, were the two that stood out the most.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, incredible talents, and I feel sort of lucky to have worked with both of them, and I still. In fact, I did something with Pearl not that long ago, too. But Deborah and I play, well, we play when we can, so it's never really, there's nothing to break up or anything because we're very dear friends, and we just collaborate when we can. We've put out 2 albums. She's put out 2 albums, and I've produced them. And played a lot of live dates together as well. When there was a 415 reunion with Translator, Wire Train, and Deborah, and I did that with her, as did Frank from Romeo Void. And I played with Romeo Void live when they reformed.
So who else have you played with? You played with any other bands I might know?
Oh gosh. It's that's hard to say. I'm sort of I've been on the other side of the glass for a very long time. I'm on the producing side, and but I do I'm about to do something with Dave Sheff from Translator. I'm producing an EP for a guy who's doing some Americana, and gosh, I don't know. In fact, let me just throw this out there. When we played on your TV show, Norman Davis was there.
Yeah. The disc jockey from K-San.
Exactly. Well, I played with his daughter a few times, Susie Davis.
Oh, really? He's got a daughter?
Yeah, do you know Susie?
No. I just knew Norman. Norman was an old friend of mine back then. I haven't seen him since then.
Oh, really?
That was 1979.
Yeah. Well, Susie, is a really great keyboard player and singer, and she was actually in Mick Jagger's band when he did his solo thing.
Oh, cool.
And she played, I don't know, I saw her with Billy Idol and Sheila and what have you. But we work together every once in a while. If she has a music director gig doing community theater, she'll call me up and say, "Will you come over here and play guitar for me?" You know, and I'll do stuff like that because I can read and that sort of thing. So Susie is sort of fun, and I thought about her because I knew you knew Norman.
Yeah, I know Norman. What's Pearl doing now? Is she playing again? I see she's on Facebook now.
I saw that. Yeah, she's back on. She finally got.
She never answers. Well, I've been trying to get her on the show. She never answers, but she's got a Facebook site now. So does Hillary.
Oh yeah, no, he certainly does because he has a band with his daughter.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was cool.
Fortune. Yeah. Well, Pearl is gigging. It's been a couple of years since I've seen her, but she came up here to sing some vocals. We recut Shut Up and Dance, for example.
Oh, I love that song. My favorite song of all time is Shut Up and Dance.
Yeah. So she came up here and did the vocals here. We the rest of us had cut the tracks beforehand, and Pearl came up and spent the night. And it was lovely to see her because she's a sweetheart, She's a very charismatic person, but she's not totally self-absorbed. She's a very, very nice person, and it was great to see her and hang out and work with her. And she's really very down to earth about work. She'll tell you where she sits, and that's
where are
really
you
helpful.
From originally?
I'm from San Francisco.
Oh, you are. You're born here?
Yes, and I live in Marin now, Central Marin.
Cool. I'm in Berkeley, so we're close.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, I love asking this question because I love finding out where people get their influences from. What, number one, if you can tell me, tell us for that matter, what your influences are and what possessed you to grab a guitar?
My influences are just, at this point, are ridiculously broad, and I guess they were probably pretty broad pretty early. Mm-hmm. I started playing piano. I wanted to play piano, and there was one in the house. And, but really, when I saw the Beatles, I kind of thought, that is what I want to do. And like so many people. But I was too young to really do it. I was still in, middle grammar school and that sort of thing. But it stuck. So they were the primary influence, but they weren't the first. I loved the Ventures, and I loved instrumental music before that, and I like most kids, they get exposed to stuff like Gershwin and some of the real obvious classics. But the Beatles definitely inspired me to pick up the guitar. Most people thought I'd be a drummer. I thought I might be a drummer because I don't know. I just beat on everything all the time. but then I saw the Beatles. Well, you
remind me of James Dean. It's a wonder you didn't get into acting. You look a lot like James Dean. You're a real cutie.
Oh, thank you so much.
Duh.
I can't act my way out of a paper bag. My word, we could do James Dean for the next 20 minutes, couldn't we? So yeah, it was the Beatles first, but I played for a long time, and I got a call from John Stench, and he said, "You've got to come here." I was on the road with a band, actually doing quite well. It was a cover band, but we were getting pretty good money, rooms, food, everything was comped. And he said, "You've got to come back down." I knew him before. And he said, "You've got to come back to the Bay Area because it's the first time in a really long time that, 4 people can get together with just guitars and drums and amps and make it." And that was all I needed to hear. So I quit the band I was in and I was in Edmonton at the time, playing a huge venue, and flew down here and starved for a while. But he was right. It was the whole punk new wave thing.
The Mabuhay and Dirk Dirksen and all that scene.
Yep. It was the first time, really, that bands were able to, sort of to come off the street and make it, not be, connected to, record label executives and all that crazy stuff that always happens.
And disco had taken over before that, and this was music, live music, fighting back, saying "fuck you." We'll do it ourselves, so we don't make money. We're still going to do it.
Listen, don't knock disco though, because after Pearl Harbor and the Explosions, and after the Peter Bilt group, which was after Pearl Harbor and the Explosions, I kind of hung around at the Automat, which is a big recording studio in San Francisco. David Rubinson, who owned it, was managing me for a while, and then Bill Graham managed me. So I basically stayed in the Automat a lot. There were a lot of people there at the time. Randy Jackson, who most people know from American Idol, but I've known him for a million years, and Narada Michael Walden, Walter Afanasieff, lots of big acts. But I hung out there because there were these two guys who wanted to make a song for the soundtrack to the movie, The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just, remember that? About the astronauts?
Tom Cruise, right?
No.
No, it wasn't Tom Cruise.
No, it was about the astronauts. Yeah,
the astronaut one.
Yeah.
That was Tom Hanks.
No. It was before that.
Oh, okay.
The Philip Kaufman movie. Philip Kaufman directed it, and it had Sam Shepard and Scott Glenn and a whole lot of people Fred Ward, a lot of people who went on to really long careers, but it was being made here. In fact, Jane Dornacker is in it.
What's she doing it? What is she doing?
She plays a nurse. She plays a nurse in it.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, these guys wanted to get a song in the soundtrack, and they were connected because the Automat was the big studio, and everybody was connected, and there was a publishing arm in there, and all the business was happening there. And it just so happens there's a song by Brian Eno called The Right Stuff, of all things. And they said, well, we're going to cut this thing and present it to the producers and see if we can get it in the movie. And they called me up and said, would you sing this? Because I'd been in there with Peter Bilt doing all kinds of vocals, and I'd worked with both guys, their producers. And so I said, yeah, sure. And they said, no, we'll pay you $125. And if it goes to disc, we'll double it. And I said, sold. So I went in there and sang The Right Stuff. And they mixed it, they produced it, gave it to the producers of the film, who rejected it. So I don't know why, but they did. In fact, I have a copy of it here, printed out in Germany. Somebody sent me. I didn't even know it had come out on a label.
Do you know Helios Creed? You know Helios Creed?
I've heard of him. But you have to talk to John and Hillary about him because they played with him. Yeah,
I know. That's why I figured maybe you know him too.
I didn't know him. No.
Oh, he's no friend from back before the Mabuhay days when he was doing folk music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know him way back, about 1973 or so.
That's brilliant.
In the coffee houses.
Right.
I'm a lot older than you. See, I'm 69 years old, so I was there during the hippie days.
Oh, yeah. I was the kid in the back of the room.
Yeah, you're one of those little children with the flowers in your hair.
That's right. Following quick.
Was your mama a hippie?
I'm sorry?
Was your mama a hippie?
Oh, no. She was. I was a mistake. She was much older than. Even my brothers were too. My brothers and sister were too old to be hippies. There's a big age difference.
What kind of work does your father do?
Well, he's been dead for quite a long time, 13 years now. He was a merchandise manager most of his life, but he did not do too well in his entrepreneurial career and ended up on the short end of the stick. Let me just put it that way.
Oh,
So
well, he should have been a musician. We're used to not having money.
Well, it would have been helpful. I would have had an amp when I was starting.
Yeah, we can say we're artists anyway, even if we ain't got no money.
No, there was none of that. Believe me, it was really hard to get that first guitar.
So what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Yes.
Well, I'm kind of my primary income-generating activity, as one of my former managers used to say, who's now a film producer. She used to call it that. What I do primarily is I'd call myself an audio generalist. Of course, the less kind among us would say I'm an audio slut. But
I like that.
Well, that's really, so that means I'll pretty much do almost anything audio related. I'm in my studio right now. I'm sitting in front of my board watching my 3 screens move around. But I do a lot of work for Antenna Audio, which is a spin-off of Antenna Theater. So I do audio tours for museums and famous sites.
Wow.
And that means, yeah. So I just finished the Empire State Building. There are 4 tours there on their various observation decks and historical museum and what have you. And the Statue of Liberty. I just redone the audio tour there, which there are also 4 tours for that. So what I do in that case is I direct the narration talent and produce the rest of the audio, namely edit all the interview material and choose music, edit music, cut it all together, mix it, and that sort of thing. And I must say, I've been working with lots of famous narrators. I've worked with Morgan Freeman, Harrison Ford, and oh my word, Dakota Fanning, Cheech Marin, Omar Sharif, Martin Sheen, and James Taylor, and Grace Slick, of all people. Grace actually narrated a tour that I produced, and I went to L.A. and directed her up in Malibu. So I do that. I've still produced music. Like I said, I produced Deborah's last LP, and I'm about to do some more. I do music for film. I produced the Cockhead soundtrack for the film and for the soundtrack album, and documentary films. Alaska Far Away, which is on all of the PBS stations all over the country, and art films in London. I've been doing with a friend of mine who's an actor over there who's been essentially putting together films with Salt Pictures, some of which have played in the Cannes Film Festival, Cologne, what have you. I've been over there to hang out, really, and do not much more. So, like I said, I'm an audio slut. If you've got a job that pays, I'll do it. If you're an artist, I'll probably do it even if it doesn't.
Right. Well, we are about out of time, and I had a wonderful afternoon listening in on these great stories between, of course, you and Girl George. Girl George, you're always a blast to have on the GPR, and it is an amazing experience to have Peter Dunne on the show. I am very, very grateful.
It was great talking to you, Peter. That was really cool.
Yes, absolutely.
It was really fun.
Yes. Is there anything you want to plug?
There is just, let me just plug one thing, and this is not not for money, but just for fun. I've written 2 books. One is a novel, and it's called Tears for Allah, and it's on WordPress. Under, I think it's Peter Dunne WordPress, if you Google that. But the other one is a musical memoir, and it actually deals with the period that ends with the zenith of Pearl Harbor and the explosions.
Oh.
And that is www.embeddedstars, EMBEDDED, stars, one word, .com. And you might want to check that out if you're at all interested in Pearl Harbor and the explosions and really what the influences, are in long form.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, those of you listening, please check out this episode of GPR with Girl George and myself, the Gypsy Poet, and please check out anything that Peter Dunne has mentioned, of course, www.embeddedstars.com, and I'll be sure and be sending out promos on Facebook and whatnot. And Girl George, what a blast this afternoon. Thank you so very much. Everyone have a wonderful holiday weekend coming up. Thank you so much. And Peter Dunne, you're more than welcome to call in anytime. I enjoyed the stories. Thank you so very much. This is the Gypsy Poet now saying adieu for now.
Ciao.
Love you. Thank you so much. It was great fun.
Next song is called Driving. It's going to be our hit single. Driving.